So what am I going to do when I'm through fighting? I only have 16 years to be productive, get myself ready to meet God and go to the best place. Don't that make sense?
Thank you.
I first discovered this legendary Muhammad Ali interview around the age of 14 or 15, and I've made it a habit to watch it at least once a month just because of how much it keeps me in check. I fall short of that promise, but every time I do discover it again, it gets me back to focusing on what matters. In this video, I'll be sharing 3 key lessons which I have took away from this Ali interview that have really changed my life. Now, this is just one of the many countless Muhammad Ali interviews which has helped me. I could literally make a 3-part documentary on how much his wisdom, humor, and passion has shaped me as a human being. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant Muhammad Ali the highest rank in heaven. The first lesson that I wanted to share with you guys is we have less time than we actually think to achieve our goals and be effective. Muhammad Ali starts his answer to the little kid by explaining how the time where we're physically awake is less than we actually think when we take into consideration sleep, travel, and entertainment. He highlights to us an extremely vivid example, stating that on average, a person who's 30 years old has been unconscious for 8 years of his life, when you factor in 8 or 9 hours of sleep every day. He shares further in the interview that by the time a man has made a way for himself, has children, he's pushing 60 years old. I remember this specific clip from the interview where he distinctively proclaims,
So life is real short. So you add up all your traveling, add up all your sleeping, add up all your school, add up all your entertainment, you've probably been half your life doing nothing. So
I vividly remember hearing this and frantically got up and started pacing around my small box room, reflecting on how I was wasting my time. Time spent on social media, being consumed by opinions which weren't mine, time spent watching mindless entertainment and being occupied by things which weren't necessarily helping me get closer to my goals and God. We actually have less time than we think to actualize our goals and achieve something of merit. Our goals can come in the form of climbing the corporate ladder, buying a house, or getting closer to God. This interview really made me stop and analyze whether what I was doing was going to get me closer to those goals. Am I giving each day my all, or am I just coasting through life? Now, I know I'm going to sound like one of those hardcore motivational channels when I say this, but complacency really is one of the most dangerous things in life, because when you achieve a certain level of success, you stop aspiring towards the next goal and taking risks due to the fear of failure, ridicule, and just comfort overall. When I stumble by this interview, it makes me realize the importance of my time and why I should utilize it to the best of my ability, as we really don't have as much time as we think. This lesson is for me first and foremost. Let's be intentional with our time and make sure we don't waste it. I've been wasting too much time lately, if I'm being honest, whether this being mindlessly consuming social media or being consumed by godless entertainment in the form of music, movies, and TV shows. I really need to get back to focusing on my purpose and realizing that through my actions. The second striking lesson from Ali is when he talks about life being a test. He explained how God doesn't care about our worldly success or social status, but how we treat and care for one another. This made me introspect again on whether I was being a good son, brother, and friend. Was I helping people and being there when they needed me? These are some of the things which God judges us by. God doesn't care whether we're rich or own nothing. It's how we treat and care for one another which is what will matter in the end. Although this world can be cruel and cold at times, we can't let it turn us cold. We need to actively remember that this life is a test to see whether we'll end up in either heaven or hell. You don't necessarily need to subscribe to this idea of life being a test to be a nice person. The goal for me is to ensure that I always remain a good son, brother, and friend for as long as I'm alive. This is not a Dava Islamic channel in no shape or form. I don't talk about religion on this channel because I don't feel like I'm nowhere near the Muslim I want to be, so how can I give advice when I am in need of it the most? However, my religion, if you don't know by now, is Islam, and the most important thing to me is becoming the best possible Muslim that I can be. I discovered this interview at a time when I needed it the most. I was beginning to lose sight of what was important in life and going through some sort of teenage existential crisis. It might have had to do with the fact that I was on the verge of finishing secondary school and was now figuring out what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. Looking back, only if I knew not to stress so much about what the future held. I wasn't praying, hadn't touched the Quran in a while, I was letting trivial matters of life get me down. There was a huge void which needed to be filled, and by the way of Allah, when I came across this interview on YouTube one day, that void started to fill. I don't know what clicked, but I immediately got up and went to pray, and have tried to do this consistently since then. Although I'm not quite at 5 prayers a day, I make sure that whenever I have time, I pray. Even when I'm tired, even when I don't feel like it, I pray. Besides praying, my journey to becoming a better Muslim began. Started watching more Islamic lectures, learning more about different aspects of my religion, and most importantly, incorporating what I had learned to my real life. Whether this being a better person or being patient in the face of adversity. This interview single-handedly propelled my journey into being a better Muslim, which in turn helped me be a better son, brother, and friend. May God admit Muhammad Ali into the highest ranks of Jannah, because I know that this interview has made people from every corner of the world flock to Islam and to truly reflect on how they're utilizing their time. Thanks again for tuning in, and as I always say, we're just getting started.
I'm the greatest thing that ever lived. I don't have a mark on my face, and I upset Sonny Liston, and I just turned 22 years old. I must be the greatest. I told the world, I talk to God every day. If God's with me, can't nobody be against me. Sonny, I shook up the world. I shook up the world. I am the king of the world. Hold it. I'm pretty. Hold it, you're not that pretty. I'm a bad man. Wait. I shook up the world. I shook up the world. I shook up the world.